Peter Bergen is a national security expert and author of the new book, Trump and His Generals, The Cost of Chaos. It focuses on the relationship between the president, the national security establishment, and the rest of the world. Peter Bergen, good morning. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
Let's start with this military training program that the Saudi gunman was participating in. What can you tell us about that program?
Well, you know, the U.S. and Saudis have long had very close relationships militarily. I mean, what's interesting to me is we're now sending thousands of American soldiers to Saudi Arabia after a hiatus of more than a decade. To what extent are they being protected from potential attacks in the kingdom? And this guy seems, we don't know if this guy radicalized before he arrived or while he was here, maybe a bit of both. But clearly it shows, by the way, this is the first time a foreign national has carried out a terrorist attack, if indeed it is terrorism, on American soil since 9/11. A terrorist attack since 9/11 invariably are American citizens or legal permanent residents. So here we have a foreign national, by the way, not part of the travel ban countries, Saudi Arabia, obviously. So
presumably he was vetted pretty carefully before he came.
Yeah, but not sufficiently.
President Trump has faced criticism for his reaction. He put out the condolences from the Saudi kingdom ahead of the facts that were the result of a U.S. investigation. What do you make of that reaction?
Well, I mean, look, the House of Trump and the House of Saud are very close.
Yes.
And, I mean, this is, they're all in with the House of Saud and Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince. So it's not surprising this is Trump's reaction. Do the thought experiment where this was a Yemeni rather than a Saudi. I think his reaction would be different.
You know, the president campaigned on pulling out of Afghanistan, yet he's now recommitted to our presence there. Why is that significant to you?
Well, he's gone back and forth. I mean, right now, you know, he's talked about peace talks with the Taliban, then he stopped them, then he said he was recently in Afghanistan. He said we're going to start them again. He wants to draw down. He's been a skeptic of the Afghan project, so he's had a sort of bit of a mixed message about the Afghan policy.
Peter, I want to get your reaction to a Washington Post story that just dropped. So I'm going to read a little bit of the story and then get your thoughts. So the Washington Post has obtained nearly 2,000 pages of internal government documents detailing how U.S. officials misled the public about the war in Afghanistan. The Post reports a 3-star Army general who served as the White House's Afghan war czar during the Bush and Obama administrations told government interviewers in 2015 about the war, quote, "What are we trying to do here? We didn't have the foggiest notion of what we were undertaking."
I was in Afghanistan last week,
and
the place is quite different than it was even 10 years ago. I mean, we traveled only in an armored car. It's impossible to get out. The security situation in Kabul, the capital, is really pretty bad. You see a lot of T-walls, which are these 20-foot blast-resistant walls that you didn't see.
Does it sound right to you that the U.S. mission was adrift?
Well, we've had multiple different missions. I mean, the joke about Afghanistan, it's not really a joke, but the observation is, we fought 18 wars there. Every year we kind of have a new war with new people and with kind of new strategies. So, but, that said, I mean, look, half the population now can work, half the population can now be educated. That wasn't true under the Taliban. For all the things that have gone wrong, there are some things that have gone right, which we can't forget.
This report, though, suggests that U.S. officials basically were hiding what it calls unmistakable evidence the war had become unwinnable.
Well, the U.S. military is a can-do organization, and it's obviously going to put the best gloss on what it's doing. So is that deception, or is that trying to put the best gloss on what it's doing? Clearly, this report in the Post is a big deal, and I think will raise questions about how we've approached this.
It's interesting that you have the title, the word chaos in your title of this book, because reading it seems very appropriate. Trump and His Generals, The Cost of Chaos. You point out he's the first U.S. president who never had military or public service experience, yet he was very dead set on having generals in his cabinet. That didn't work out so well for him, did it?
Well, but I think he needed the generals, John Kelly, who was a 4-star Marine general, Jim Mattis, a 4-star Marine general.
But he didn't listen to them, though, as you point out.
Well, I mean, he listened to them, and I think they argued with him, and eventually they got rid of. They either resigned, were forced out, or just left because they could no longer have a relationship with him. So, what's left, I think, is a much less impressive group of people. I mean, I'm not saying that some of them aren't, serious people, but...
Are we less safe as a result?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, the Ukraine incident kind of speaks for itself in the sense that President Trump may not have gone down that road if he'd had a group like H.R. McMaster as National Security Advisor, Chief of Staff John Kelly. I mean, these people were kind of trying to put guardrails up, and now Trump is sort of unplugged.
He offered Stanley McChrystal a job, General McChrystal, who declined a cabinet position.
Yeah. As Secretary of Defense.
Exactly.
All right, Peter Bergen, thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Trump and His Generals, The Cost of Chaos goes on sale tomorrow.